Unlike high school kids, we're actually going to be on time tonight, so I want to make sure we honor your time and get you to other places here on our campus. Okay, how many of you guys are currently 8th graders or 8th grade parents? How many current high school kids and parents do we have? Okay, a little mixture. Just want to know who my audience is. Well, anyway, good evening to our current Cavs and our future Cavs. This is our Cavalier Showcase, and this is an introduction to Lake Travis High School and some of the things that we're going to change or tweak for next year. Normally when I do this, I kind of go all over the place, but my camera person has told me like I'm restricted from here to here. So I'm going to do my best because we're going to try to record this and put this on our website for those who weren't able to make it. One of the things I'll tell you, if you are a middle school parent, don't forget, starting on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'm making a trip to each of the 3 middle schools. And what that presentation is really going to be focused on what can you expect for your 9th grader. And we're going to dive into the nuts and bolts of what 9th grade really looks and sounds like, and not really pay attention to some of the urban legends you might have heard in the past. Well, if you don't know, my name is Gordon Butler, and I'm the principal here at Lake Travis High School. This is my 4th year here at Lake Travis High School. 18th, 19th year of education overall. It's hard to keep track. But like any campus, we have a lot of people that really support what we're trying to do. Don't take a picture of this slide because you're thinking, oh, that's going to be my kid's AP. Things happen. Assistant principals get promoted. Sometimes we get additional spots, and so we always have to shuffle the alphabet. But as of today, those are the people I get to work with every day. I consider that my team. Those are the ones that talk me down off the ledge when I'm ready just to lose it, and they're the ones that nudge me that, hey, we need to make this decision. And so we're fortunate to have a crack team of administrators here that support the learning that goes on here at Lake Travis High School. And then we also have our counselors. I think I can say this with conviction. Most of you will spend more time with your child's counselor than with their assistant principal. Why? Because as principals, we are the bad guys. I don't give hugs. I give consequences. Every once in a while, a high five. But our counselors, like Miss Indendike and Miss Staggs, they're going to hug and love on your child and tell them they can do it, and they're going to help you navigate high school for all 4 years. Once again, don't be married to what you see on the screen, because if we get another counselor, we will adjust the alphabet accordingly. And so I know that sometimes can be frustrating for parents. You want the same person all 4 years, but sometimes we just have to do it because of growth. And we're going to talk a little bit about numbers. Remember, the point of tonight is just to kind of give you a 10,000-foot overview of what you can kind of expect about high school in general and some of the things that we are changing for next year. The other thing is we want to make sure we reserve enough time at the end so you can ask me some questions. Hopefully some of the softball questions not too difficult, because I don't want to make up an answer for you tonight. Okay, Lake Travis High School by the numbers. 3,367 and growing. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say we're getting smaller. Raise your hand again if you're the parent of an 8th grader. Okay. Here we go. Your freshman class next year is projected to have 1,027 of America's best and brightest. Now, my sincere hope is that in 4 years, all 1,027 make it across the line to shake my hand and we hand out diplomas. But once again, life happens sometimes. But we're a big school, and I know that can be frustrating. And one of the things I'll ask you not to ask me, when are we building a second high school? I have no idea. This is way above my pay grade, so that is a question I cannot answer for you tonight. So let's talk some more about the numbers. South Lake Carroll, the Woodlands, Flower Mound, Prosper, Lake Travis, Westlake. In case you're wondering what those are, there's this thing in Texas called the Lone Star Cup. And what the Lone Star Cup measures is not just athletics. It measures your success in UIL academics, fine arts, whether it's band or art or orchestra, and you accumulate points for winning. And so I think this speaks volumes about our school, that out of all the 6A high schools in the state of Texas so far, after the first round of judging, so to speak, we're right up there. More importantly, we're above that other school that we shall not name publicly. But I brag about that because so often people say, oh, you guys are all about athletics. Well, no. We can win state championships in every sport and not win the Lone Star Cup. We have to do well in academics and fine arts. And I think that's just, once again, a testament to what we try to offer for all students. The thing I will tell you is, yes, it's a very large school and a very large footprint, but there is something for everybody. And if we don't have it and a kid comes to me, we'll try to create it. So some more about the numbers. We have about 150 plus acres. This is a small college footprint. If you have a student here, they'll tell you it's a lot of walking. We have 2 cafeterias. From that cafeteria in the annex where freshmen mainly eat to the main cafeteria, that is a half-mile one way. I know because I walked it a lot, and my feet really, really hurt. Your kids will get their steps in. I promise you. They're going to get their steps in. So our ultimate goal here at Lake Travis High School, contrary to what maybe you thought, and what I need you to do is, I'll be honest, it's been 26 years since I've been in high school. I see some of you trying to do the math, that's fine. But 26 years, I have to let go of what my high school experience was like. What your kids are experiencing is much different. Most of us didn't have to navigate a campus this large. We didn't have to navigate these things. I'm so glad I didn't have a cell phone in high school. I might be in trouble. But the academic pressures, the social pressures. So I'm going to need you to let that go. Because sometimes as adults, and I'm guilty of this, we try to hold on to what our view of high school was, and if the kids don't fit into those nice, neat boxes, we get a little frustrated. One of the things you're going to quickly find when your kids get to Lake Travis High School is every class doesn't get a textbook. We have them available for kids to check out, but most of it's digital. And you're like, well, why? Well, when they go on to college, they're going to have a lot of digital resources that they're going to use. Here's another shocker. We don't have lockers. We do have lockers in the hallway, but they're decoration. Very, very few kids use them. If a kid wants one, we'll be happy to give them. We say, take your pick. There are plenty to choose from. But we really just don't use lockers anymore. And this is a big shocker. Parents really struggle with this. Most kids don't buy a yearbook. They just don't. It's not the cost necessarily, even though it is kind of expensive. It's really why am I going to pay for a yearbook when I can create my own yearbook through Instagram and all the other social media platforms, basically. So those are all things that we think back nostalgically about, man, high school is so great. Your kids don't think like that at all, and so we're trying to adjust. So this goes back to what our goal is, that all students gain the knowledge and skills to have options for their next steps. Notice I didn't say to prepare them for college. If I was really interested in preparing your kids for college, we're going to put a bunch of them here in a lecture hall like this. We're going to fire half of our staff because I don't need that many teachers. I'm not going to be interested in your 504 plan or your allergies, and I definitely won't call you if they show up, because that's what college is really like. So instead, what our hope is that we give the kids everything possible so that when they get ready to graduate, they have a lot of options. Sorry, radio. Whether that is post-secondary education, the military, a job, yeah, maybe even a gap year. I know that's not popular to say, but whatever's going to come next, we want our kids to leave ready, knowing that they have options and that we didn't force options on them. So I want to talk about some of the new things that we have in store already for 2021. It's hard to believe, like we haven't even wrapped up this year, but we're already having to start to plan and think and make decisions about next year. So, as far as I know, here are the things we're doing for next year. On the academic side, the state of Texas has actually come to the rescue for Lake Travis ISD. We're usually one of the districts we give so much money back because of Robin Hood that we really don't get a lot from the state. Well, the state has decided that they want to invest in more career and technology education classes. So thankfully, we're one of the handful of districts that we're going to pick up 6 new CTE positions next year. It doesn't impact our budget. The state is basically paying for it. And with those teachers comes new programs. So we know we're going to have way more CTE offerings, and that's a great thing because as important as the core content classes are, kids also come for their electives, and we want to make sure we're offering high-level electives that are preparing kids for the future. So that's a plus. We're excited about that. One of the things we freely acknowledge as a weakness is that I don't think we've done a good job of preparing you guys on what math classes kids should take. For some reason, there's almost this misnomer out there that you have to have calculus to graduate. And I was speaking to a kid that's going to go major in communications, and there's nothing wrong with the communications major. That's what I had in college. But he told me, well, yeah, I got to take calculus. I'm like, dude, no, you don't. We don't want you taking calculus if you're going to major in communications. But we're going to clearly articulate the pathways for kids based on what they think they're going to do. And so in the past, like, I'm not saying calculus is bad, but calculus isn't for every student. And you're still going to graduate, and you're still going to go to an amazing college without calculus. So we're going to clearly define what those math pathways look like, and maybe what level you should take, whether it's on-level, pre-AP, on-ramps, dual credit. And this makes no sense to you right now, but I promise you, by the time you get here, it will. This next point kind of seems weird because we're so anti-testing. We're going to do more testing at Lake Travis High School. And before you boo and throw things at me, let me explain. The testing that we're going to start offering, we're doing a pilot this year. Where right now, if a kid wants to take the SAT, they have to take it on what day? A Saturday. I don't know about you. I don't function well on Saturday mornings. And I can't imagine that our amazing students on a Friday come home early, go to bed early, and get up well prepared to take a test that really determines their future as far as college admissions go. So we started putting our heads together and said, what if we could offer the SAT during the school day here at Lake Travis in their natural environment in the time when they're used to taking tests? And it was like a light went off. I'm like, yes, so we're going to do that this year, and even better, parents, you're really going to like this one. It's free. It's totally free. So we're going to give kids the opportunity, let me make sure you understand this, to take the SAT, if you're a junior, during the school day, here on campus for free. Because I feel like our kids are going to score better just being in a natural rhythm of when they normally take tests and right here on our campus, instead of coming on a Saturday morning and trying to wake up and make sure you do a good job on that test. We're also going to offer more certification testing, where depending on the classes that a student takes, if they take enough of those classes, they'll be able to earn an industry certification test that, once again, we are going to pay for. So when we say more testing, not like what the state of Texas envisions, but more testing to get kids ready for the real world. We just feel like we have to be more full service here as a campus. And speaking of testing, right now we have a retesting system where if a student makes below, Susan help me, is it 80 or 90? I can't remember. 80, it's below, if you make below an 80, a student can come and retest to boost their grade. It's a decent system, but we're going to streamline it where it's going to be easier for a student, because right now they have to communicate with the teacher, make arrangements with the teacher, for that teacher to be here either before or after school. That's way too confusing. So we're going to have one central location where students will be able to book an appointment online that the teacher confirms and says, yes, you may go to the testing center on this day at this time and take their test. That way it takes the teacher out of it. It's between the student and the testing center. They sign up for their test, they submit their test, teacher grades it. It should help everybody all the way around instead of this negotiation that takes place that I don't think is effective for anybody. So that's a change we're looking forward to for next school year. Facilities. As far as I know, this is all we're going to have for a little while. I don't know how long a little while is, so we want to make the best of it. One of the things we've realized is our kids get to school early, some of them. When they're here, there's no place to sit in the hallway. They sit on the floor, they sit on their backpacks, they sit on steps. And so a group of teachers got together and said, what if we had more common area seating? So kids that actually get here early have a place where if they want to study or cram, whatever you want to call it, right before a test, they're going to have that option. So we're going to have more common seating areas throughout our building. And so we're spending a significant amount of money, but we feel like it's a worthy investment, and we want our kids to be comfortable. Believe it or not, we actually care about them as humans, not just as these kids that come and do what we ask, but we want them to be comfortable here in the building. Parents, if you have to drop off your child here, you need to stand and applaud. We're going to have a better traffic flow in our parking lots for next year. I know it is parking and dropping off, picking up, it's awful. That's why I just stay in my office and I watch and go, dear Lord, this is terrible. And I don't come out because I don't want any parents to yell at me. But I can see it from my window that nobody's moving. So working with our facilities director, we're designing a better traffic flow for our pedestrians, i.e. students that just casually walk out and don't realize that cars are actually going. And so we want to prevent accidents from happening. So we're going to have a better traffic flow. It's already improved a little bit with the Spillman Loop widening, and sorry about the giant speed humps, just go slower. And then with our new parking lot, and then we're doing some other things as far as making some different routes that's going to improve you being able to drop off your student and pick them up, and everybody's going to be in a great mood at the end of the day. And then that last one is more visitor parking. We're going to redesign the look of our parking lots. We realize right now, if you're a visitor and you're coming here for a conference, a meeting, whatever the case, good luck with parking. It's like you're on your own, and we really don't want parents having to park next to kids because, well, they're your kids. You know how they drive and they park. And we want to protect you and your vehicle. So we're going to have better parking next year for our visitors. So I hope that improves access to our building, because parents, your kids don't want you in the building, but I want you in the building. Matter of fact, I double dog dare you to come and have lunch with your kid. Don't even tell them. Show up and you go sit with them, or better yet, just watch what we see and go, yeah, that's your kid. And yes, ma'am, I'm looking right at you. That's your kid. So make sure, come up here. And in order for you to be able to come up here, we need to make sure that you have ability to find parking and get in our building with a little more ease. Okay, quickly on these next, parking fines. I don't feel good about making money off of kids who don't follow the rules for parking. I really don't. So we're going to reduce our parking fines. Right now, if you get a parking fine, it's $40 to get a boot off your car. That's expensive. And your kids are not telling you, by the way. They're just paying, and they're racking them up. And so we're going to reduce that. But also, talking to some of our kids, because kids always want to negotiate, they're like, Mr. Butler, like, I really had my hang tag. It was just on the console, not hanging up. So we're going to have an appeal system for next year that's going to be led by students and adjudicated by students, just to get some real world learning instead of them coming to me, and depending on the day, sometimes I'm really soft and go, man, I feel bad, I'm gonna waive that fee. Or other times I'm like, too bad, you're gonna pay the $40. This takes me out of it, and it gives our kids a little more ownership in this process. Safety and security. We're 90% sure, I don't have my ID on me, shame on me, moving towards student IDs. Here's why, guys. We have 57 doors, and when the bell rings, they unlock. And kids go in and out of buildings because they have to, but then once the bell rings again and the door's locked and there's kids in the hallway, how do I know this student is a Lake Travis High School student? They all look the same to me, they really do. I mean, I have no way of knowing. And in order to be safe, and that is outside of teaching and learning, I want our kids to be safe. We're going to an ID system. And so we're just trying to make sure that it's exactly what we want, and where it's just one ID, not a separate ID for the bus or for lunch or for the library, just a one-stop ID. So stay tuned for more details. We're working that out, but we've been talking about this for 2 years, so I feel like we're pretty close to making sure that is implemented. Drug testing revisions. If you follow the board meetings, you know that's been a hot topic of conversation. There will be some revision to the process. If you don't know, we have a voluntary and mandatory drug testing program. Voluntary, where if you want to park, you got to be part of the program. If you want to play a sport, play an instrument, compete in any type of contest, academic or otherwise, you're part of it. And then if you're none of those categories and the parent just says, I want my kid involved in the drug testing program, that's where the voluntary part comes in. And I'll be brief on this. The reason why we do it, it's not to catch kids. If I wanted to catch kids, we would test more frequently. The goal is to give kids an opportunity to have an out where they're at an event and say, no, I might get drug tested. Is it 100%? Absolutely not. But it's a step in the right direction, and so the school board's in the process of kind of tweaking some of the processes that we do here on campus as far as the number of tests and the volume throughout the school year. So we know that's going to happen. This last one I think is kind of cool, and it's come up over the last few weeks. How many of you guys have seen the TV show Shark Tank? You come in, you think you have this brilliant idea, you pitch it to these multimillionaires, and they say yay or nay whether they're going to fund you. Well, I'm not a multimillionaire, so I won't be doing that. But what we are doing is we started with our teachers. Teachers have the best ideas. I've not been in the classroom as a full-time classroom teacher in 10 years, so I have forgotten a lot about teaching. And so our teachers have started, instead of them coming to me one at a time with these ideas, we have this thing called Teacher Think Tank, where once a month, either in the morning or afternoon, they come and pitch their idea to me. And it's either a yes, a no, or a maybe. And it solved a lot of our teaching issues that sometimes I just don't have time to really dive in and problem solve, but our teachers do. As we started talking and realizing this is starting to gain some momentum, we thought, who else has problems? Students. Students always have brilliant ideas, at least they think they do. So we're going to open this up for kids next year where they're going to be able to pitch an idea, not just to me, but to a panel of administrators, counselors, and teachers to say, hey, Mr. Butler, have you considered doing this for Genius Hour? And we listen, they get 4 minutes, we get 6 minutes to deliberate, and then we'll give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down or to come back and revise. So we thought, yes, that's going to be awesome with kids. And then there's another group that I think is equally important, and it's our parents. Sometimes when I'm really bored, I like to get on social media, and I kind of like to see some of the comments on some of the various sites on how all the things that I have messed up on and all the people that have all the answers. And I thought, let's invite all the people in, and so we're going to offer this to parents as well once a quarter, where we're going to give you an evening where you come and you pitch your ideas to our staff to help us problem solve, because at the end of the day, we are only going to be successful as the partnerships that we have with our parents. So that's something new for next year that I think is going to help our parents and our students to take more ownership, because at the end of the day, principals and teachers, we're going to come and go, but our parents and kids are going to be the one constant. And we want to make sure we have systems in place to support what you guys want to see. Still to be determined for next year, and then I'm going to open this up for questions. Traditionally, we do Roundup, which is a time for you to come and get your class schedule, walk the building. We used to pass out books and do a whole bunch of other things. Well, it's 2020, and so a lot of things we can do digitally. So we're going to have some form of Roundup. We're just not sure what it's going to look and sound like, because I want to honor your time and make sure it's worthwhile, but also be respectful of knowing that it's nerve-wracking to come to a new school and to walk this building. You want to walk it at least a couple times before the first day. So we're going to figure out what that looks and sounds like. Full disclosure, kids struggle in high school. And right now, sometimes it feels like sink or swim. Like if you have a strong parent advocate that's going to help you, those kids survive. But what if a kid doesn't have parents at home that really be engaged? That kid's struggling. And sometimes it's more than just one kid in the class. It may be 6 in a class or 7 in a class. We've got to figure out a better way of addressing our struggling learners. And so that's something that I don't know what it's going to feel like or sound like, but I'm just not okay with a kid failing and nobody freaking out. My ultimate dream is that when a kid struggles, there's a teacher response. There's a team response. There's a department response. There's an admin response. There's a kid response, and then there's a parent response. If I can get all those systems going, will kids still struggle? Absolutely. But will we have some safety nets in place to catch them? That's what we're looking at trying to do. Schedule. For some reason, it's kind of gotten out that, oh, we're going away from a block schedule. We're not going away from a block schedule. Not going to a 7-period day or an 8-period day or some weird combination. I don't know where that came from. But what we are going to do is take a look at our current AV block schedule and make some tweaks. We may move our current Genius Hour to earlier in the day. One of the complaints I hear from kids is there's not enough time for lunch and just to decompress, because with 3,400 kids or so, it's hard to get through the lunch line. We understand, and so we may add some more lunchtime. But the actual AV block schedule is going to stay the same for next year, but we just need to make a few minor adjustments. One of the biggest things you can do, parents, high school kids will not tell you anything. You will look up and they'll be married and you'll be the last one to know. You've got to stay informed. Asking your kid what they did today, you're going to get nothing. When you know they didn't come here for 8 hours to do nothing. So what I'm asking you to do is you will automatically get our newsletter. Like that goes out at some crazy hour on a Sunday usually, but you will get that. You can follow us on social media. I know a lot of parents say, I don't do social media. You should because your kids do. That's a good way to spy on your kids. But also, you can stay informed on what's happening here at Lake Travis. Our PTO newsletter has a wealth of information. And then finally, our counseling newsletter. When people say, oh, I didn't know that, it triggers a couple responses. A, you just admitted you didn't read my newsletter because I put it in there. B, you did not read the PTO newsletter because they put it in there. Or C, you didn't read the counseling newsletter because they also put it in there. We want to over-inform you where you get to the point where you say, if I get one more email from that Mr. Butler, I'm going to scream. Then I know I've done my job. So at this time, before we kind of wrap up, right on schedule, I'll take a few questions. Guys, I want to tell you thank you for coming out. I know it's been a long day for you, your kids, and you made the trip out here. And so I hope you get something out of this. But we have time for a couple questions from the audience. Yes, ma'am. I believe the first day of school is the 19th of August. Yes, ma'am. And we will blast that out, or Marco actually will blast that out for the whole district. Thank you for a nice, easy question to start. I really appreciate that. Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh. That's going to be recorded as well. And then when I come to the middle schools next week, we're going to talk more about the math pathways in a little more detail. And we'll probably end up having another meeting just dedicated to math, because that's the one where English is English. You can only take English 1. It's either pre-AP or on level. But with math, there are so many different courses and levels. We want to make sure that you have the right information. Great question. Yes, ma'am. We will tell you about Roundup before you leave for the summer, because if you're at a middle school, there's no way for me to get that information to you in the summer, so I have to rely on the principals at the 3 middle schools and get it to them before we break for summer. But we will have some form of Roundup. We just, once again, want to make sure it's worth everybody's time to come out and hang out in the building. You get the last one. Yes, ma'am. That is a great question. So the question was, will the annex building be large enough for the 1,000+ freshmen? The answer is yes. I know it seems odd, but we're only at like 85% capacity as far as our building usage. I know that is gospel truth because on Monday, I walked the whole building and looked in every single classroom. And I can tell you which ones are sitting empty, which ones are only used 2 periods a day. And so yes, believe it or not, we have plenty of space. The challenge will be lunches. How do you get that many kids fed in an appropriate amount of time where everybody is happy and not hangry? So on that note, I appreciate you guys for being here. Go enjoy the rest of the sights and sounds and have a good evening.